Mid-East crossfire, but we'll let the discussion get as heated as the weather outside. Today we're asking whether Israel can win the global PR war for its own image. The country frequently takes a beating in the international media, which many say is unfair. They say Israel is normally right, but gets a bad rep because it doesn't explain itself properly. Others say the basic problem is Israel's policies, and you can't put lipstick on a very aggressive pig. Today we have two Haaretz columnists, Ziffer and Burston, two writers from the same paper, but each with a fiery pen and fire tongue. I'm caught here in the Middle East crossfire, and let battle commence. Benny, in brief, why does Israel struggle to win the world's affections? First of all, I think that the situation of Israel is not so bad as it's, painted, because let's take the world. All the eastern side of Asia is pro-Israeli. India, pro-Israeli. They adore Netanyahu. You go. The thing is that the reality itself is so tricky nowadays that you have this feeling that people hate Israel somewhere, and then you go to that place and you see that people don't hate it at all. Like, for example, I went to Turkey, so I go there often, and I have this feeling from the media that they are anti-Israeli, and then I go and people say, wow, we want so much to be in Israel, we want to be Israeli, what can we do in order to come to Israel? Okay. So it shows that the situation, the basic situation is not so bad as it is painted by the media. But let's ask that basic question now. Does Israel have an image problem in the first place, or are we discussing nonsense, really?
No, Israel does have an image problem some places. It's true, as Benny says, that there is very often a difference between, for example, the people of a country and its government, or the government of a country and its press. But there is definitely an image problem that Israel has, and I think that one of the reasons that Israel has that problem is that both its policies and its public relations program are geared directly toward the domestic market, the Israeli ear, as opposed to people outside of Israel who, by the way, may not understand exactly what goes on here. But beyond that, there's another problem, which is that for some Israeli politicians, and there are many of them in the government, if the world seems to hate Israel, that plays to the politicians' advantage, especially on the right. And the Prime Minister is one of them. The Prime Minister can say, on the one hand...
Benny, do you agree? Are Israeli politicians rallying up the troops by saying the whole world is against us, they all hate us?
Yes, but I think that it's not at all. The problem is sometimes like a minority in a certain country that has a problem with Israel. It's mainly the left, sometimes the Jewish left, like in Britain or in America. You have people at the universities. It's a small minority in a country that makes a lot of noise and gives this impression that the whole country is, this whole state is against, and it's not true. So the reaction, the aim of Israelis is, in a way, not to defend themselves, because they feel, I think that Israelis in general don't feel guilty in something. So especially politics nowadays, the politicians nowadays, like right-wing politicians, they don't feel they have to apologize. That's perhaps the whole problem.
Bradley, is that the case?
Okay.
No, I think that what exists, and probably the image problem, and this has to do with both Israelis and Palestinians, is that there is a kind of double standard, in the sense that Israel, from its strong supporters, gets a complete pass no matter what it does, and it gets blackened by those who oppose it, and the Palestinians, on the other hand, from their supporters, get a pass no matter what they do, or in the case of the right, especially in places like America, the Palestinians are painted as monsters, the way the Israelis are painted in other places. And so the double standard is ironclad on both sides, and so you get a picture. You have to pick a side in a way to even begin to approach the Middle Eastern question.
And Benny, root, is this the problem of the root of Israel's image problem, that ultimately Israel's painted good by some people, bad by other people, the Palestinians the same, but the Palestinians ultimately have more people, just, because the Arab and Muslim world is larger, who are going to say, well, we're on their side.
Yeah, I think that it's very volatile and very tricky, and it changes all the time. That the people who hate you one day, they will love you the other day, and the situation will change according to all kinds of conditions. That the thing is that nowadays you cannot really see reality. Everything is mediated, but you can't see the real reality. You don't know if really people love you or hate you. And I think the only way to deal with it is the very healthy way that politicians here do.